Been so long since I guess most of us played any baseball or softball or whatever that you go back and you try to trace your steps, when you're growing up. And I had I guess, the good fortune to meet people like Russ Dietrich and Ted Wybernack along the way. And I played Muni Class C baseball when I was 12 years old, and Class D leagues teams were all filled up, so I went a step higher and played with guys like Ronnie Seastead and some of those people. And that was a year that I broke something in my knee and had to have an operation, and didn't realize that it would affect me for a lifetime. When you're 12, you think you're invincible. But it was a whole summer's recuperation type thing, and I missed just running to second base after hitting the ball to left field, and something popped in my knee, and Dr. Childress operated for like 4.5 hours, and everything was stiff when he got done. I was in a hospital 18 days, and but I've been playing baseball, football, basketball, officiating all these years, and so he must have done a pretty good job reconstructing the thing. So. But we played Class C baseball, Class B baseball, growing up through the recreation system, and Russ was always there to be our, he was 2 years older, but he was our senior person, that organized our teams, and up through all the way into high school age. And American Legion baseball, we played that, and Johnny Pollock was our coach, and we went to the state semifinals. And
where was that played, Jack?
We went to our quarterfinals that we played was against Perry, New York, up in Offerman Stadium. Oh. And for the people who are familiar with Offerman Stadium, it's a hitter's ballpark. Mm-hmm. And
left field.
Yeah, they had like a triple tier fence in left field, and I think in the first inning I hit one off the center field fence for a double and drove in a run, and I don't know, we got into, I think it was like 11 innings. The game was supposed to be 7, and Bob Love, it was batting in front of me, stuck his elbow out, I think in the middle of the plate, and got hit. Loaded the bases in the bottom of the 11th, and I hit a single about a foot from the top of the fence in left center field, and scored the winning run, and it was quite a thrill. But that was my introduction to Offerman Stadium, and it was a beautiful stadium. And then we went on and we played high school baseball, and in my senior year, I remember against Southwestern, we were 11 runs ahead, and I tried to steal home. One of those. One of those real things you have to do, I guess. But I dislocated my collarbone, and I missed a couple of games. And then when I came back, which was too early, I'm sure, everyone was still playing me to pull like I always did, and I was hitting everything between first and second. So I got a lot of singles where they would have been easy outs normally, because they were overshifted a little bit. But I ended up hitting, I don't know, it was like 527 or something like that in my senior year. And, but there were a lot of gifts in there, that normally they wouldn't have been hits. But then Johnny Newman got me a contract with the Cardinals in the spring of '56, and I went down to spring training. High expectations, and I hit fairly well. I was batting close to 500 and playing shortstop, which was not my position, but played a lot of innings and only had a couple of errors. So I was really playing above my head. And coach called me in one day, and he said, "Jack," he said, "I got to release you because they say there's something wrong with your leg." And I had never been told that I ran with a trace of a limp. But being the professionals that they are, they could notice it. So, and they weren't willing to take any chances with somebody they hadn't given any bonuses to or anything. So I got released and came home with my tail between my legs, You know, played for Marlon Rockwell that year and ended up winning the batting title in the Muni AA League. So I think it was like 491 or something like that. So it was fun. You know, I had a good year anyway.
Is Newman a scout for them, or how'd that happen?
Johnny was like a bird dog scout. He would recommend kids to be signed. They would sign them with no bonuses or anything, take them to spring training. And then if you moved up the ladder from like Class D to C or B, Johnny would get a bonus for maybe for every couple of divisions that you jumped by classification. I think he told me before I left for Georgia that spring that if I should ever make it to the majors, that he would get like a $5,000 bonus for signing. But he didn't get any money until that happened.
You have any memories of what your salary was when you signed the first time?
I signed for $300 a month.
$300 a month.
$300 a month with Peoria, Illinois, in the Class B 3I League. $300 a month. Of course, I never received any of it. But my manager when I went to spring training was George Kissel. A lot of you remember managed Hamilton in the Pony League. And he was managing Peoria, Illinois, when I went to spring training.
Memories of who you played with when you were there in pro ball? Any of the players stick out?
No, I really don't. It was a fairly short period of time, about 6 weeks, and I met a kid who played in Olean the year before I signed, and I ran into him. I was going across the bridge down by Municipal Stadium in Cleveland, and I looked. I said, "Andy, is that you?" And he goes, "Jack, what are you doing here?" And he had been released as well, but he played about 3 years in the minor leagues. And Andy Anderson was, is all I remember him by. So Minnie Minoso and some of those people that played with the White Sox, they came through Albany, Georgia when I was in spring training and played an exhibition game against the Cardinals. It was, it was a great experience. I wouldn't have missed it for the world. I think the only thing I ever felt sorry about in those young years was Danny Litweiler, who managed the Falcons in '55, the year that I graduated from high school, saw me play several times, and one night he was down there, and I was in the on-deck circle. We were playing a preliminary to the Falcons game, and Dan said, "Jack," he said, "straighten out that flagpole out there in center field." They had a windstorm or something. The thing was bent, and luckily I hit one off the center field fence. So I think I got a triple. And when I came around and scored, he said, "Well, you came close." But Danny sent me a letter that fall. He had been signed to coach the Florida State baseball team, and he sent me a letter and said, "Jack, come on down. We'll get you get you a job for room and board, and I can get you free tuition." And I just wrote him back saying thanks, but I really don't think that I could go to college right now. I wasn't in a mindset I think that I could have succeeded in college, but maybe with a little kick in the tail from Dan and some other people, maybe I could have. So that's the only thing that I really regret, is not trying that avenue first.
What are some of the memories you have of being a stadium rat down at Municipal Stadium?
I started working out with the Falcons when Tony Lupien was a manager. They'd let me come in and put a uniform on and take batting practice with the pitchers, and get out there early and take batting practice, and then go shag balls while the regulars hit. And it was a really nice experience. I got to know some of the people, and I remember Kenny Walters was an outfielder, and he made it to the majors with Philadelphia, and I was standing down around third base one day when he was hitting, and he was a dead pull hitter, and he hit a shot and landed just in front of me, and I tried to time it, and the thing come up and hit me in the wrist, and that thing was so black and blue for a week. But he was a real strong hitter. They had some really good players back in those days, in the early '50s.